Welcome to the series showcasing artist work inspired short story in Visions of Life 2. This is the book that was just published this year. With me today is Linda Bayer, who wrote the short story, My Turn. Linda, what made you choose James Ostlund painting, Garlic, for your short story?
Ivy, I'm delighted to be with you here today. I chose James Ostlund's Garlic because it reminds me so much of my husband. I saw that and thought of him and thought, that's the one.
Can you tell us something about your story?
The story starts with a couple, Walt and Susan, who are talking about and planning his 90th birthday party. The night comes, it's the evening of the party, and Susan overhears Walt and their lawyer talking while they're smoking on the balcony. She learns that her husband has another child that she didn't know about, who lives next door to them with his mother. The dinner party blows up, and the story ends with her getting together with a very old friend, and they're about to have dinner together because she's lonely, and she and her husband are at this point obviously separated.
Now, it sounds like your story touches on the professor-graduate student relationship, the casual nature of it. Is that reflected in your experience?
Both yes and no. I know plenty of faculty and students who had relationships that didn't in fact last. They were relatively brief. But I also know a number of people, myself among them, who married their graduate school professor, and at this point we're all still married, and that's 30 plus years later. So it goes both ways. I mean, I think they were just ordinary relationships.
So power does not play into it as much as in an undergraduate student's relationship.
Well, I think as an undergraduate, really and truly, the only relationship you have with faculty is in a power situation. You're in their class. That's the only way you know them. My entire graduate class consisted of 12 people. We knew every member of the faculty thoroughly. I mean, as a department, we'd go out for drinks on Thursday nights. These were the people we hung out with, that we talked to all the time.
In your story, it sounds like Walt was not able to move from a casual relationship to a more committed relationship with Susan, which requires telling the truth, like he has a son, or realizing that Susan wanted another child and he didn't want to.
To make that work in the story, to make it possible for someone to have a child who lives next door and to never tell about that, you have to be a relatively self-centered, cold individual who you want what you want and kind of, let the chips fall where they may.
Your stories is based on James Ostlund's painting, Garlic, but he also paints landscapes, other still life, which includes flowers, and also portraits. I'm going to show you a couple of portraits. This is the 2-page spread about James Ostlund's work in the Chicago Art Scene book. The first portrait here is that of John Siege. The second one here is titled Paula. Can you tell us what you think of his paintings?
His portraits are somewhat unusual in that he doesn't follow the old-fashioned, I guess, way of defining the character of the person that he's painting by using various objects to suggest their interests or their passions or anything about them. The first one of that gentleman is a bare image. It's a man who looks slightly discontent in front of a completely neutral background. It lets the person looking at the painting read into it almost whatever they will. There's nothing to anchor the the observer to who that person is. You're free in your own mind to invent them almost. It's an interesting way to approach portraiture.
Well, thank you, Linda, for sharing your story with us. Please go to crowitzpublishing.com to order a copy of both books, The Visions of Life 2, and also The Chicago Art Scene.
Ivy, thank you so much for having me today. This was a lot of fun. I was interested to learn a little bit more about James Ostlund, so thank you very much.